Transition. There we go. Welcome, everybody, to our next segment of MogTalk, which is going to be a show that constantly gets asked about. And it's fair enough because I keep saying it, and maybe I just need to change what I say at the beginning of the show. But
it's in your intro.
It's in my intro. Because we did have a conversation about Chocobo Racing. Today is about, this segment is going to be about Chocobo Racing. We're doing it. We're going to have this show. We're going to talk about it. We may not be able to fill an hour. We're going to try. We're going to try.
Saving the best for last.
Yeah. Well, that's right. At this is, yeah.
I know what I said.
No, so it's something that has always just been something that rolled off my tongue. I don't know why I put that in the intro, but I decided that I would. And now that I've been asked enough times, it's part of the show, we might as well talk about it. And the reason why Chocobo Racing is so difficult to talk about is because they don't do anything really with Chocobo Racing. So either way, we're going to have the conversation, and I'm going to bring on two of my great friends who I've had the pleasure of spending a decent amount of time with, both in and out of the game. Well, not a lot out of the game. I would rather more out of the game. But I had the pleasure of. And yes. I would like you guys to go ahead and introduce yourselves real quick, and I'm going to start with you, Larry. Could you tell everybody who you are?
Hi, I'm Larry. I make videos on Final Fantasy XIV Online, made by Square Enix, and I stream sometimes.
Okay, that's a really good one. That's a good one, man.
Thank you.
All right, Drak.
Hi, I'm Larry, and I make videos on Final Fantasy XIV, which is a game by Square Enix, and I stream. Drak Gamestein, do YouTube, do Twitch, mostly Final Fantasy XIV, trying to branch out into some more casual, loose content, just for moments like this when there's a big content lull. And we did get quite a bit, but yeah, just been trying to do more with my group of friends. And if you like silly nonsense while still somehow being able to tackle raid content, then mine's the channel.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. I mean, when I think of casual content, I normally think of you.
Thank you.
When I think of casuals,
we've hit that niche pretty dang hard.
Brain goes to Drak.
That's how Square knows that things are too easy. If we can beat it, they're just like, no, gotta tune it up a little bit.
Mm-hmm. If you could beat it before the next patch rolls around.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so Chocobo Racing, I think it's an interesting part of the game. Actually, going on topic here, I guess. It's one of those things that was released 5.5 years ago, a little bit over.
Whoa!
It was a long time ago. It was a big thing.
It was Realm Reborn.
Yeah, it was Realm Reborn.
It was Gold Saucer, one of the first attractions to it. And so it's one of those things that everybody was so excited to see, because when you think of Final Fantasy, you think about Chocobos, and then you also think about maybe Chocobo Racing in Final Fantasy VII, right?
Yeah, that was the first thing my brain went to.
Mm-hmm.
Mine was 11, because you got to raise the Chocobo, and like I always loved the Tamagotchis, and like I love sim games, so like I was really excited for it. I loved when you got the chance to do your personal Chocobo, that whole like figuring out like how to get them the right color, the color that you wanted specifically. That was super fun at the time, and then it just didn't go that way. So
I don't know anything about Final Fantasy 11 Chocobo Racing or Chocobos.
I never did the racing. I did the raising.
Okay.
Though,
all right.
Because I loved the pet portion of it. It was super fun.
Okay.
That sounds like what the Final Fantasy VII one was. So maybe the FF11 version was closer to what the FF7 version was, because that sounds kind of like it.
Well, I mean, you have your personal Chocobo here, right? It's yours. Mm-hmm. It's, you change it whatever color you want. You put a saddle on it. It has stats. I never use it to battle things, but it's there, and people do use it because it is better to use it. But you know what? I was going to say this off-topic thing real quick before we got into the conversation. I'm just going to say it before I forget about it. You are like 5 pixels, Larry. I don't know why. Maybe Discord hates your video, but for me...
Oh, like on the stream. Yeah, what the heck?
Yeah, I don't know. It was something
You guys are fine to me.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to you, dude.
What the heck?
But, it's okay. I figured I'd let you know. You're hoping to change the zoom focus, and that will stop the pixelization. Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. I don't know how to fix it.
It doesn't matter. I don't care. I think we'll just call you Pixel Larry today, and we'll have a.
Oh well.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm retro.
That's what we want. I mean, that's what Chocobo Racing is, because it definitely doesn't really. I was going to say something bad. I don't think about Chocobo Racing anymore. It's like just there. It's gone. It happened during Gold Saucer, and it never got enough tension for me to ever really go back and do anything else with it.
Yeah. Did they do updates to it like at all? They did, right?
I don't think there's any new maps. They changed.
No, like at all since it came out.
Yeah, they've done some.
Did they?
Yeah, they did.
Recently, they did something that was really major. They made it to where it doesn't have a timer for the countdown when you're queuing up.
So you don't know that it will take forever?
Well, no, it doesn't take forever because it just queues you in after a certain time with NPCs.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and so...
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so there you go. I mean, and that's a sad thing, right? I mean, this is something that was supposed to be such a landmark part of the game because it's part of Final Fantasy, but it's such a thrown to the side piece of content that we never really get to experience. Do you think that maybe they were just like, hey, we tried it out, it didn't really work too well, we just on to the next thing?
I guess.
I feel like people did it when it came out.
Yeah, like there were a lot of people around. I mean, it's hard to pinpoint what the community wants. You know, like, was it too competitive? Was it not competitive enough? Was it not very clear on what you had to do? I just don't know what most people really didn't like about it, because it is a very community-based thing, not just for like being able to race against each other, but to breed your chocobos, to get better ones, to get to higher tiers. And it's a good way to farm MGP from what I was reading up on, just to kind of refresh, but it's just not the preferred right now. And people really didn't like that you didn't really have control over your chocobo, that it was just like kind of auto run. So that was really rough for people.
It's like kind of like a laggy Mario Kart is what people would kind of refer to.
That's what I wanted it to be when it came out. I was like, oh, it'll be Mario Kart. And I guess maybe that was setting expectations too high.
Well, yeah,
especially for our game.
Yeah. No. Well, I mean, we have an MMO and we add little things that are similar to other games, and it's never going to be as good, but you hope it is at least good in some way.
I just wanted more of the breeding aspect. I thought that would be fun. And
I think the breeding aspect, I mean,
I
don't know what the breeding aspect is right now, because there is some, right?
There is.
Yeah. You raise your chocobo. I liked the integration with gathering, because you had to go out and there were special timed nodes that you would gather the stuff, and then you would craft it into this special food. Then you would rank it up. Yeah, you would feed your chocobo, you level it up, and then you would retire it, and then you'd get a little card, and then you turn in the card with another card of opposite, they do the thing, and then you get a new chocobo.
Nope.
And then you level it up.
You have to craft and gather now? No.
I mean, you don't have to. You can buy it off the market board, but
okay. So just to let you guys know, you probably picked up on this a little bit. None of us are Chocobo Racing experts in Final Fantasy 14. I don't think there are.
There aren't any.
I don't think there probably are some people who put guides out and they were really, they did do some work into it. There's some people who do still maybe take it seriously, but they're very difficult to find. And I figured it'd be better to bring on Larry and Drak to talk about this in a way of players who have experienced the content and what is going on with it, I guess. Instead of just talking about, you need to level it up and get this pedigree and everything else, because no one does it. No one does it. No one knows.
So in FF7, I don't know how they can emulate this here, but in FF7, what I liked about it was I would go out into the open realm and I would have to find a chocobo and I would have to capture it. I liked that part. Then you would have to make the chocobos have a baby. And you would pair them up and you would be like, oh yeah, this is a green chocobo and a blue chocobo. They're going to have a great baby. And so you would pair them up. And then you would hope that it would hatch a black chocobo egg or whatever was next. And then you would need to get another black chocobo, and maybe you could get a golden one eventually, right? That's what I liked. And then once you got the golden chocobo, then you could get Knights of the Round Summon. And that's just not in this game. So I don't know how they can even translate it.
Yeah.
The racing part I didn't like in Final Fantasy VII either. So
I liked it. I thought it was fun. I played a lot of it.
Were you racing? Like
I was
thought you were
also
just
11.
betting.
I don't know.
I think you were just betting on who would win, and I don't think you were actually
you had
doing
some
the
interaction, right? Like you gave them like something to speed them up real quick. Or,
yeah.
Yes.
Like Epona carrots. Kind of like that.
Yeah. And so that's all I really expected, to be honest with you, when it came to this. But they did try to give you more, I guess. Here, it just wasn't.
I think it's because of how our game works with server ticks that the racing doesn't work well. It doesn't. It needs more than a 3-second server tick or 2 point whatever it is.
Maybe that's what it is. You know, there's a lot of stuff that they do in the game that is based off of action-oriented things and server ticks. And so when you get into competitive stuff, it doesn't. You'll see it in PvP Summit. They fixed it a good bit, but like it just doesn't function right. It just doesn't mix the way that you think it would.
It's like playing a fighting game with delay-based netcode.
Yeah, exactly. In some fashion.
Gross.
So when we talk about Chocobo Racing, that's kind of what you're dealing with too. Is all this like netcode stuff that's all they need to do it where it's just like it doesn't depend on that netcode. I mean, you have maybe times that you have to do stuff, but maybe like there's a pause or something, or you're like, it does this action, and you're like, I make this decision here, and then this is, I don't know.
Like a turn-based Chocobo Racing?
Yeah, turn it into Choco Battle instead, where it's just, you go back to the RPG.
Lords of Verminion.
And then you equip it with different armor, so the barding gives it special skills. So like the Shiva barding, you just shoot out like ice attacks, and then the Ifrit barding is a big old fireball. And then like Zervan and gets a whole bunch of like swords and turns it into like chicken cutlets. And
where's the racing?
No, we're beyond that.
We're past it.
We're talking about Chocobo Battles. That's the new thing.
Chocobo Battle.
Choco Battle.
Yeah. I think, you know what, actually thinking about this and going back a little bit, maybe one of the issues that Square Enix with the Final Fantasy franchise has had issues with is changing from turn-based to action-based in many of the ways that they handle things. And so maybe we just go back to turn-based and we're okay. Just go back.
Yeah.
Whatever we
like
do.
FF7 did. It's like did a mix of the two. Well, that whole system was like in the works since like 13 or something. Like they tried to do it right, but yeah. So like if you had like a mixture of turn-based plus active racing, Chocobo Racing.
Maybe.
I don't know.
There's ways.
It's just how it is right now. It can't work.
So when we all went to the media tour for Shadowbringers, I dedicated a question to Chocobo Racing. I don't know if you guys remember at all, but I did. Yeah. I asked him, and he said the person who worked on it is now working on the raid team. There's no one working on Chocobo Racing, guys. It's
that's not surprising. They move them around so often.
Yeah, I don't like. Just imagine though. I think there was I think it was iterated. There's one person who created it.
One guy.
One
Good job.
person.
I mean,
so it's impressive for the one person who was able to develop this mode. But if he's not even on it anymore, how are we going to see this stuff advance on? How are we going to have MogTalk, the updated Chocobo Racing show, where we go in and talk about all the new features and the new maps and what competitive styles and how to do your Chocobo breeding in order to get the best Chocobo, when it doesn't have any content?
They got to get the intern. They got to get an intern in on it.
Yeah.
Because right now, like like you said, because if he's doing battle content or raid content, it's like now we definitely don't want him to go work on Chocobo Racing because you're going to take away from battle content, and we don't want to take away from that. So,
yeah. But I mean, this does evolve into a whole nother aspect of the theme park of Final Fantasy 14, which we were talking about at the beginning of the show. It's basically Final Fantasy 14 is a theme park for everyone who loves Final Fantasy. And it has all these things that they bring in, like Triple Triad and all this other content. But after they implement it, it's done. right? It gets some, like we get new triple triad cards every once in a while, right? We get new certain things after every while. They changed the tournament, how it worked, and we get new minions for Lords of Reminion.
Yeah, and they shoehorned in Mahjong just out of the passion for the game. Like that's they find ways.
Yeah,
I think that one's fine to leave alone.
yeah. You don't change anything with Mahjong. It's just Mahjong, and you're done.
Yeah,
I was just talking about
fine.
their time being put into it, like what they work on.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
What I was meaning by that too is that when we're doing all this stuff, is it okay for them to just kind of throw something in there and just forget about it and not touch it for 5.5 years?
It's really up to them. I think like it's really like how much they want people to interact with it, and if they want it to be a big part of the game, then no, that's not the way to go about it. I don't think. But if it's just like here it is, and then they just move on to the main stuff, then
I mean, do we consider it a? I mean, of course, we don't consider it a big part of the game, but do we consider it as something that should be a big part of the game for our love of coming into a Final Fantasy theme park, or is it something that they can just kind of? It doesn't matter.
I want Gold Saucer to be bigger.
Yeah,
you know how long its business has been the Gold Saucer.
Yeah, well, the Gold Saucer has been doing pretty well with their jump puzzle stuff. I really like that. I think they did great with the jump puzzle. Like that, they've really found their. They hit gold, struck gold with that.
Oh man, I was so excited when it first came out. I even started MogTalk to talk about it.
Specifically Gold Saucer?
Yeah, that was the first episode.
Really?
That was what was relevant at the time, and so I was like, "This is what I want to talk about. I want to talk about Gold Saucer, and I'm going to get in, and I'm going to be a triple triad master, and I'm going to, win every tournament and just be a badass, and this is going to be what I do." Then it just didn't work, and people abused the hell out of the tournaments, and it just there is no way to be good.
I think a big part of it is still not enough reward. Like it's an MMO. Like you don't really have to try very hard to make people do shitty content. Like look at Relic. Like there's so many shitty steps, and people do it anyway because they're gonna get a really cool looking weapon, right? So
like
go ahead.
For me, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Both at the same time, please.
Yeah. Okay. 1, 2. I personally like projects. Like step by step, there's a goal to get to, right? So that's why I really enjoyed things like Relic, or if you find a new class that you want to level, it's like, yeah, I've got a goal now, right? But yeah, it just needs to be implemented the right way to be like engaging as well. Because I'm fine with them like needing to focus on the main stuff with whatever resources they do or do not have, right? But I lost my train of thought. But basically, just I lost it.
It's all right. It's all right. There's things I can. Well,
understand. with the thing about having a goal in mind, I think they could do that with the Gold Saucer stuff. I don't know how, but I think you could do it, and that is what I like about Relic too. Like, I will do a shitty Relic step because I know eventually I'm gonna get this cool looking weapon, right? Unfortunately, with the the Stormblood one, it did not end in a cool looking Relic. They all look the same, but regardless of that, maybe this new one will. Anyway, with Gold Saucer, they can do that, and it's the same kind of thing with PvP too. Is I really think it just needs more stuff in it to make you enticed to do it, and stuff that you can only get from doing that thing. Like, like if there were more glamours and items and stuff that you could only get from doing. Yeah, but they need. Yeah, exactly.
They need to keep on the train. Yeah.
They need to keep it going, and I know it's probably a lot of work.
Gold Chocobo.
You could get the gold Chocobo from Final Fantasy VII.
There's so many things. Reward.
Chocobo Racing.
Now that you talk about that. Doing the racing could give you bonuses to your Chocobo. Maybe they get new animations. Maybe they get new whatever. Maybe you get a different style of Chocobo. Maybe you get something else.
Yeah.
There's so many different things that they could do to make that be like, they have the barding. I think that's it. They have the barding for
There's a barding.
But they don't have anything that's really too crazy for Chocobo Racing to entice people. Because I did it, and I maxed out everything, and then I was done.
Yeah.
Because it's good to get MGP the first handful of times, trying to fill out all the different achievements and everything else, and getting all those rewards. But I don't think I just was never incentivized to go back and keep going with it. And I was sad because when it came out, I was like, I'm gonna live in Gold Saucer. I'm gonna Chocobo Race. Yeah. I'm gonna triple triad. I'm gonna do all the different things. And they're gonna look at me. I'm gonna wear the gambler's outfit. And I'm gonna welcome people to Gold Saucer. Be like, welcome to my domain, right? And that's just what it was. But unfortunately, no.
The ultimate casual Frosty.
That's me. Yeah. I party findered E8S. Maybe that makes me hardcore, actually, to start to think about that.
That makes you pretty hardcore, I'd say.
That's impressive. That is something.
But then again, my party finder, I have to admit, there was a level of people who already cleared it helping out, so I can't really be. The funny thing is, it still takes so long. Even if you're with people you don't know and you're playing and they are all really good at the game and they don't know each other, though, mess up mechanics all day. I don't know. You just don't have that same jive. But I'm trying to think about it, and it seems like one of the questions I asked in this was what other content seems to be kind of left behind, and it keeps making me think after having that PvP conversation, maybe Feast is being treated like Chocobo Racing in some way here. Like we're just kind of being left. They fortunately did enough with it, way more than Chocobo Racing, but at the same time, maybe they're just like pushing it to the side and dealing with other things, and then they'll eventually maybe get back to it. But Chocobo Racing, no one ever got back to. We just got like the kid that got left, and no one ever came back for you.
Yeah, his dad went to go get some ice cream or something, or cigarettes, I guess.
The ice cream's the PG version. It's for kids. Yeah. Sorry, I forgot.
Went to go get it. Well, that's the one I know.
Because, like, here's the thing. Like, even with Triple Triad and with all these other modes and everything, they still get something every once in a while. Chocobo Racing, it's just like it has this whole little section. It never gets anything.
Yeah. I remember my point. It was before, like, first of all, it's really hard to get a read on what is important to them. Because I think usually the interviews that I read with the OGP is like, hey, we're working on some new stuff. We're focusing on this. But it's not, this is a very general and vague kind of concept. They don't really go in, these are our priorities necessarily. But then when they go, hey, if you don't have anything to do in the game between patches, go play other games. That's, what they're there for. You shouldn't be on this game all the time. The thing is like, as soon as you do content a few times, you just run out. So like, there's really, even from a business perspective, it's not good for longevity.
Which is where PvP is one of those things. If they could lock it down, yeah. And I
say this every time, man. When I come on here, I was so excited for PvP because I was like, I just come from like League of Legends and competitive games and stuff. I'm like, this is going to be like constant content. Like I will never have to worry about, because you never know what you're going to get. You can try all kinds of new strats. You can be quirky. You can be try hard. You can be like whatever. Just go for it, and just you can take all these different angles. And I was really excited for it. And then they just kind of left it, and they don't they don't do a whole lot of, like, everything has to be on a big patch too, right? They don't just do little updates like, hey, here's a little update, bi-monthly thing where
which is what PvP needs.
They do. They need a representative that comes out and says stuff to them all the time and just says, hey, look, this is when the next season's starting, this is our goals, we've heard this and we heard this, and one day that will happen. But I think go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, I don't know how they allocate their resources or what their resources even are. So it's really hard to even just speculate from the side, because they could be putting all their manpower into another 3 jobs in the next expansion, or another job.
That would be impressive.
Yeah. Like we just have no idea. So it's hard to be like, they should do this or that without coming off like a complete dick once you, behind the scenes. Just like, and like Larry,
I think it might be able to follow up with just, I would like them to. Maybe that would be better.
Yeah. I would like
for sure.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't want to be a nag to them, because as content creators, we kind of understand that vibe. Like, people are just like, hey, we want more content. It's just behind the scenes. I'm trying so hard.
Just make more.
All this stuff going. Just make more. When's the next one?
It's so easy.
See, that's how I was with Lords of Verminion. What you said with PvP. Well, I was like that with PvP too, but that's how I was like when Lords of Verminion was coming out. I was like, it's an RTS. I love RT. StarCraft is my freaking jam. This is going to be awesome. And it actually was very well made, believe it or not. Lords of Vermilion was great. I actually don't know why it was dead on arrival, but it honestly was put together really well.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I don't think there was any balance really for it.
Yep, nope. None whatsoever.
No real balance. I remember I recently went back and did Lords of Verminion just to go through the initial first try of doing the competitive ranking side to it. And there are a couple of people who queue up every week, and they do it. And so you can probably get some matches in there. And I got the Feast Wolf, and I think I went around and destroyed everybody. Just wolves, just completely. Just spam it out.
Yes, that's the strat that I've seen a lot of people do. They're like, oh, you just get the best minion and spam it. And so what I did when it came out was I had that Bahamut minion, which was that one that you got from that CD back in the day. And so I just spammed a whole bunch of those Bahamut minions. So I'm like, well, it's Bahamut. How it's gonna win, right? It was not very good. It didn't work.
It depends on how they work together with each other, right? And so I don't think any of that aspect was really thought out too much, which is how PvP I think was first conceived in Heavensward. Is that they were just like, here's your character, here's all your skills, let's see how it works out.
That was my favorite version of PvP.
That's a lot of people's favorite version because it was just chaos and nonsense. Yeah. But they tried to get a handle on it and change it, and it is what it is. The thing that I think, we're going back to Gold Saucer and kind of doing this type of content, is it does feel like a lot of the stuff that they put out is just, hey, look, this is Final Fantasy, come play.
One-offs. Yeah, like it's probably a lot of it is marketing of like, hey, we have Gold Saucer in this game. We've got, you could play the MGP card things, actually, or the lottery, whatever, because there was a lottery in FF7. Yeah, the scratch cards.
Yeah.
That was in there, and they have all this stuff that was in FF7 and all this nostalgia. So it's like, from a person outside of the game, they're like, oh wow, that's awesome. And maybe the first time you do it and you check it out at whatever level, I think it's level 15, and I would probably be pretty ecstatic at looking at it for the first few times, but it would quickly get old again.
Yeah. I mean, I guess thinking about this from an outside perspective, and you say Final Fantasy MMO, and you're like, oh, what's in Final? Man, they got Chocobo Racing, they got Triple Triad, they got these jobs that you can play, they got all this cool stuff. You like Final Fantasy, what was it, 4? They got like Dark Knight, and they got like Paladins in there, and they got this cool Dark Knight story. They got oh man, there's all this stuff that you like from things that you've already played and is nostalgic to you. And so when they introduced Gold Saucer, we knew that was kind of what they were doing. They were saying, hey, this is Final Fantasy, come play it. And it kind of sucks because it feels like, hey, they're implementing the stuff that we would love that was good and existed as really great content, but it really just seems like it's there to sell more games.
Yeah. It reminds me of that comic from, I think it's Shen Comics, I think it is, where it was like a completely original idea, and the crowd's just like, oh, that's boring. And then you just say one thing that you like, another thing that you like. I glued it together, and then the crowd's just cheering. It's like that.
Yeah. I hope that some of this content gets revisited, because I would love to be like, oh yeah, I play Final Fantasy 14, and in my free time I go and I Chocobo Race and stuff, and it's fun, it's nice, it's relaxing. I beat other people, I use the meteor and make them angry like a blue shell, and it makes my day. Yeah. But I don't, because it's just if you play it, it's literally you versus the NPCs.
Yeah, it's you versus bots, and that's the problem. It's like a endless cycle kind of problem of, it's only good if you're playing with other people, but other people aren't going to play it because it's not good. So how do you get the people in there?
Yeah.
Incentives
and making it something that people would be like, I'm having fun beating other people at this.
That's not even as important.
I don't know.
For me, I just want to like get more attached to the chocobos, like adding an extra phase, even if it takes a little longer, like the egg step.
You just want a chocobo in real life, right?
I do. Like I love pet systems. I love And like I was going over this in the video system video that we were doing for like Beastmaster potentially and Summoner stuff, and like I've always loved those job fantasies of like taming and raising and all that stuff. And
why don't you play those jobs in the game?
Yeah.
What ones?
Yeah,
why don't you play Summoner? Why don't you play?
I play Summoner all the time. People complain about it constantly. Yeah, they're like,
oh.
I was like, I'm having so much fun on Summoner. I feel bad because like I should be playing more Black Mage, but Summoner is so fun. And somebody posted that not the guillotine, the what do you call it? Where it's the nooses.
Oh, it's just a noose, like a hanging.
Yeah, it's monk, samurai, and it's looking at Black Mage like first time. I'm just like, stop.
Yeah.
I'm being attacked. The gallows, yeah.
The gallows, yeah.
I do like them. But yeah, I've always enjoyed that. That's what I really like about Black Desert, being able to go out and tame horses. And people are like, horse training's stupid. I'm like, I love catching them and raising them and skilling them up, and it's just I'm weird like that. That's one thing
you're
that
weird for being passionate about that. Yeah,
Pokemon. It's like Pokemon.
Yeah.
Speaking of another thing that content in the game that the devs have seemed to left behind, and speaking about Summoner, eggy glamours.
Yeah,
you're gonna make
it's a good idea, right?
Explode.
Yeah, the other day I was watching old trailers, like before 5.3 came out. I was watching old trailers to find the trailer where Ardbird first showed up, and I came across in like one of the first patches of Heavensward, the new feature, Eggy Glamours. And I was like, this was announced like 5 years ago.
You got it, man. What are you talking about? You got Eggy Glamours.
No, I know. They said this is a new system and we're going to add more glamours. That was what they said.
And Yoshi P gets so annoyed every time it's brought up. He
got mad at me when I asked. I was like, but I said it in such a nice way too. I was like, oh, so maybe you know how like Summoner now is summoning Bahamut and Phoenix. Maybe that's why there's no Eggy Glamours, right? Because we're phasing away from Eggies. We're just doing demi summons, and Yoshi P is just like, first of all, they have nothing to do with each other. And I was just like, I'm sorry.
You messed up, Larry.
I mean, they dug themselves into that hole. They're like, oh yeah, we're going to try and do this. And then just stuff happened. Whatever stuff was, it's just they don't talk about or can't talk about it.
Same thing with Blitzball and like stuff that they're like, oh, this is so good. We're going to talk about this and we're going to get hyped up for it and we're going to make people want to play this game because it's going to be good. And then they're like, how the hell do we even do this? And then they're like, let's go on to the next thing.
Yeah. Did they officially say they wanted to do Blitzball, right?
I'm fairly confident it was said in a way that made it known, hey, we're going to an area with water, with Storm's Blood. We're thinking this is where we'll implement a Blitzball system. I'm pretty sure it was said that it was going to happen.
In passing.
Yeah. It was never officially announced, I think. It was just in an interview, it was like, oh yeah, it's going to happen.
I just think it'd have the same issues that we were talking about before with it being the server ticks.
Turn-based Blitzball.
Blitzball is kind of turn-based, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess if they did it turn-based, then that would be it.
Yeah.
It is, isn't it? I don't remember it. Like Final Fantasy X Blitzball, it's fairly turn-based.
You know what? You're right. It's been a long time. Yeah,
there's
I just
chat
remember
saying
swimming
it wasn't,
around.
but I don't know.
It wasn't.
I thought. What?
I thought you moved and then like you stopped at an area, like maybe you had some free movement, but at a certain point you were stopped and confronted and you had to do something, and then like you had a choice. I don't remember what it was though.
It was like fairly turn-based, where you would move around, you would get to the ball or get to it, like one of your teammates would have a ball, and then you would have a choice of what to do with the ball, and then people would move again, and then you would have a choice again. It was like a mix. Mm-hmm. Oh, I think Ethis put the quote in there.
All right, go ahead and say it. I can't read it because it's too far away. My screen is so far away from me.
Okay. He says, go ahead, Jack.
We're exploring the possibility of implementing Blitzball or something to that effect in a few 2016 FanFest interviews after Stormblood announcement. It's been
So
a
that's
hot
long
minute.
time ago.
I feel like there's something more solid than that was said, but maybe I'm imagining it. It's always possible. I have a vivid imagination.
I think it might have been they had a list of interviews posted on the Lodestone that I was going through. I think they mentioned it in there, but I forget the wording exactly because I was looking for other stuff. Because after the story reactions and it's like that end text, I'm just like, are they done? Are they moving on? People are like, no, he said in an obscure interview in an event that was Japan only. He said, and I was like, okay.
He
Sorry.
said, man. He said.
It was just fan translated.
Yeah. Okay, so
we're going to 7.0.
So maybe do you guys think that we'll ever see a revival of the Chocobo Racing in any way, shape, or form?
There's always the chance, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what we are? Are we just players who live on a prayer's chance?
Yes.
I mean, yeah.
Is that
just kind of hope.
I play Summoner, dude. I lived like that for 7 years, however long I played the game.
Hey man, I played Paladin and it worked out for me eventually, dude.
Yes, it did eventually.
Yeah, it did. But I don't know. I would love to see it if they I think a lot of the problems is they made the system and they don't want to just rip it out and resource and make a system that works because they already have something in place and they don't want to go through all that. Because a lot of the systems they made, when we talked about the netcode, they'd have to rework core functions of the entire game and with the spaghetti code and everything else that's there to make it better. I think if they made Chocobo Racing now, they would definitely make more creative decisions that would work better. But I don't know that for sure, but I would assume so. So I
think they would. Like a lot of it is definitely like, developer time and thinking like, do we really want to do that? Like it's like realistically, they're like, okay, this is kind of dead. Should we spend our time updating this, or should we spend our time making something new, or should we spend our time making something that we already do better? And I think it's kind of been the pattern in all of their decisions that they really just focus on those couple things that they do really well, and they pull away from those other things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's true. Absolutely, 100%. Is that they see what things are doing well. Like Ultimate went really well. They put focus on Ultimate. They didn't just like create it and stop making them. They decided that it was something that they're going to keep going forward with.
They could have stopped, and that would have been a very bad decision. I think Ultimate was like one of the best things that they've added in.
Yeah.
For the game's health.
Yeah.
They
even if I don't do it, it's great. I know it's good for the game.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of what we're seeing with Chocobo Racing. And they probably don't want to say, oh, well, we're going to do a new mode and we'll replace the broken mode, because then they're saying the mode, something in the game is broken at the same time. It's weird. I don't think that we'll ever see anything. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think the future of Chocobo Racing is ever going to be expanded upon, recreated, or redone in any way. I think it's just done.
I don't know about redone. I think they might put on a new coat of paint at some point, maybe add a little something extra, a new map, perhaps. Maybe tweak the functionality with the new people that they've gotten in, or now that people are a little bit more familiar or have gotten the hang of the systems that they inherited from 1.0. Because that's their biggest thing. And I honestly, I wish them the best in all their endeavors, but I'm waiting for them just putting in resources to a new engine that works.
Final Fantasy 17,
or 17, 18, however long it takes them. I'm looking forward to it. Like
we'll be like 60 years old, and we're like, oh, Final Fantasy 17.
With our raid group, in the nursing home.
Yeah.
Oh.
I wanted to ask you guys this is kind of ish on the same topic.
Sure.
I wanted to ask you guys what you thought about how relic systems have evolved, because I'm of the opinion that it's bad that they keep pushing it further and further back every expansion.
Yeah.
I think that's bad. I think the relic should be part of the game throughout the whole expansion.
But why make
because it's so important.
It's such a weird thing because they have so many different ways of getting weapons, right? They have extremes, they have savage, they have just regular token buying it, and so on. And so which one is the weapon that is supposed to be the best? Is it supposed to be one has its day to shine, then the next patch this other one has the day to shine, and then like How do you make people want the stuff? I think Extreme might be a good example of what is the right way to approach it, because it's slightly weaker, but if you haven't done the content, it's either going to look good or it's going to be something that you can use to help you get that really good sword from Savage.
I think they have a good sweet spot with EX primals there. But with Relic, it was, at least to me, it was always like, I kind of didn't care how it was at the time. I was just like Drac was saying before, I was just building up to having this really cool thing at the end of the expansion. I would have this really cool looking weapon. And it's very specific to your job is the other thing. So it's like, it's just weird to me that like, since A Realm Reborn, we had the Relic since the beginning, or like since the first patch. Then Heavensward, it was in the 0.1 patch. And then Stormblood, it was in the 0.2 patch. And now Shadowbringers, it's in the 0.35 patch. So it's like, it's just getting further and further back in the patches. And obviously I know that it was delayed more because of COVID, but they were always planning it to be 0.35. Yeah. So,
I mean, I never really thought about that, to be honest with you, but it is a good point. That Relic does seem to be something that's on the sideline that kind of gets pushed off, and they're putting other focus into other things. And they're like, oh, well, I guess we have to do the Relic. Let's integrate it into BA and make that, or put it in Eureka, or, put it into some other content that we're just going to try to get people to do, which is, I think, what happened with Eureka, right? They wanted people to do Eureka, so they made it part of that. And so I think they weren't ready to release their Eureka version yet, and that's the only reason it got pushed. And so if they keep tying it to it, it's just going to keep getting pushed until they want to do that content.
Because they're tying it so hard to like this big content, and I it's awesome that they're making that big content, but it's, I don't know, like I really feel like Relic is the thing that keeps the game feeling kind of alive even when there's content lulls, because there's something for people to strive to do, even if it's just grind a dungeon, right? So like in Heavensward, like there were downtimes, but people had Relic to do still. Like, and in A Realm Reborn, I don't even remember ever having downtime. Like I always had something to do. Maybe it was just
because we're babies. We're babies, dude.
So that's probably nostalgia. But Heavensward is not nostalgia anymore. And there was still, because Relic was there for a while, there was always something you could grind to do. And I think like that, I think having that grind in an MMO is kind of important.
Do you feel like in A Realm Reborn, we just didn't have as many options, and so we eventually hit a point to where we were just overwhelmed and we didn't care if we did everything because we would never be able to do everything. And so maybe that's why we're kind of in this kind of weird sense of, you always had something to do, but it's just, you have lots of things to do. You just don't want to do them.
I think, that's probably part of it.
Okay. Because there's just so much, you're just like, whatever. I just select whatever I want to select now instead of selecting everything, which is what we did in A Realm Reborn. We did everything.
I did it. Yeah, I did everything. So I think I'm more selective of my time now. So that's probably part of it too. Yeah.
But funny enough, Chocobo Racing, we're already getting close to the end of the show in the segment here. I thought we could feel, you know what? Honestly, I don't know if we could do a full episode on this. We could try.
Like a 2-hour Chocobo.
I mean, it would be like if we wanted to theory craft, what could they do, or what would be fun to see that could lead to some interesting conversation.
Yeah.
You guys didn't like battle, Choco Battle, so I don't know what to tell you. I'm going to
be honest. I want any turn-based kind of tactics-based. If they could do that right now, implement a tactics-based system as a competitive component within the game, and people would play it and love it, and it would be easy to moderate because it's turn-based. It doesn't matter that server lag is happening.
Yeah. Server ticks don't matter.
So just do tactics. Just throw tactics in there. Next Gold Saucer thing. There you go, Yoshida. Send me a check. It's fine.
Why haven't they done something turn-based? It's like so good for the game. Like just how the game works. It would work.
Minion tactics instead of Lords of Verminion. It should just be minion tactics, and you're done. I don't get it.
What the heck?
But that being said, I'm going to give you a little bit of time to say kind of your outro stuff and everything. But before I do that, I do want to go ahead and say how much I appreciate both you guys again, because the main reason I brought you both on to MogTalk is because you guys have been here on the show plenty of times and have been wonderful to me and such great friends. That I felt like it would be weird not to have you on. And, of course, talking about nonsense is the best thing to bring you guys on for. So, thank you so much.
That's what we do.
Larry, do you want to do any shout-outs or anything before you head off today?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, Frosty, and congrats on 200 freaking episodes.
Thank you, man.
Congrats, dude. It's awesome. And welcome back to making 14 crap.
I'm ready, dude. I'm ready. I thought I'd be dead by now, but I'm actually not feeling too bad, dude. Like, I'm definitely not going to do this style of a show except for once every year at the most, if that. But it has felt great kind of just talking to friends and seeing everybody again. So
it's taxing.
It can be. To put it together for sure. Drac.
I will double down on that. Congratulations. It's quite the milestone, and it's been fun being on here every time and getting to talk. Ethis, I miss you too. Shout out to Ethis Asher.
Love you,
hopefully
Ethis.
everything settles down and we can hang out again. I really would like to get everybody together at some point, like again, because doing that last FanFest live stream party was like super fun, and maybe we could do that sometime again. But yeah, shout out to my raid team. I miss you guys. I haven't seen you in years since the raid ended, and yeah, it's always fun being on here, man. Congrats
I appreciate
again.
that. Well, guys, we will be seeing Ethis come on here in just a second. As ships pass in the night, he's going to come on for our lore side with Anonymous, who will be a part of that as well, and we're going to be talking about the story. But for now, we are ending this Chocobo Racing segment. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and enjoy the music, the community music that we have playing in the next 15 minutes while we do setup. You guys, wave your hand and say bye.
Bye.
Stay frosty.